Hey class, hopefully it hasn't been too bad. I'm due to be back from surgery soon. I know you miss me terribly. Let's get into the notes today. It's not too bad. We just need common denominators, and we could make this really ugly, but we're not going to do that. We're going to keep it simple, okay? So we're looking at number 2 here in your notes. We're subtracting a couple of fractions. Okay, as I look at these fractions, I notice I already have a common denominator. So I can keep the common denominator and do the math. 9x minus 7x and 12 minus 2, positive 10. I am done. But one thing that you might want to try to do is see if you can simplify something. And you could take 16 into both, but I think the best way to simplify these is see if you can factor the top. Since we can factor the top, we can then reduce 2 over 16 to be 1 over 8. And so our answer ends up being x plus 5 over 8. Okay, so 2 went into 2 and 2 went into 16. Okay, we don't need the 1 because 1 times the grouping is just the grouping. What do you think? Not too bad, huh? Not too bad at all. Well, sometimes it gets a little tricky when it's not so nice. Look at number 5. If we were going to do number 5, before I start factoring, I don't think I need to factor. I got a common denominator already. But I would have to take 3n minus n, keep the n squared on top, and negative 7 minus 1. I would have to do that. And maybe my answer can be factored. Maybe. And maybe I could reduce a little bit. Why don't we look at number 5? Common denominator, n squared plus n minus 6. Keep the n squared. I'm just subtracting. 3n minus n leaves me 2n. And negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8. Now, as I look at this, I might want to try and factor. I think we're factorable. Oh, yes, we are very factorable. And now I think you can see with multiplication, I can do one-to-one canceling. So my final answer is going to be n plus 4 over n plus 3. Okay? Not too bad, not too shabby. And just a quick reminder about reducing. Remember when we talked about how every now and then you get a backwards grouping of subtraction? It only works for subtraction. They don't cancel directly to be 1, but as long as they're the same numbers with a backward subtraction, they equal negative 1. And you can put that negative 1 up here or down here, it doesn't matter. Okay? Let's get into needing a common denominator, because I'm a little worried about number 8. I think we need a common denominator. We have 1 and 8, so I think 8 is going to be in our common denominator. And we have a squared and a, so in the common denominator, you need the largest exponent in order for both terms to go into it. So you have to adjust the top as well. See, our denominators have changed. They're now common. So what did I do to change a squared to 8a squared? I multiplied it by 8. So I got to multiply this one by 8, and I'm going to get 32a. What did I do to change 8a to 8a squared? Well, I multiplied it by a, so I got to multiply the top by a. So as you can see, now that I've converted, I'm ready to subtract. I keep the common denominator. 32a minus 7a is 25a. Now, I think you're seeing, I think I can simplify that. Yeah. Do you remember? When you divide with exponents, you subtract. So this is going to be 25a to the negative 1 over 8. And I have to move just that a to the negative 1. So there's my final answer. 25 over 8a. All right? So the name of the game here, when you add and subtract, is common denominator. Let's flip it over. We could do some really hard ones. We could, but I don't want to do that to you. Let's stick with the basic ideas, like number 10. In order to get a common denominator, I have to see how this factors. See, I need to make sure this denominator and this denominator get made into a common denominator. So I think they both have the y plus 8, but it sure would help if we had a y plus 3 in this one. So in order to convert it, I simply multiply y plus 3 times the bottom and y plus 3 times the top. That's going to make both denominators the same. So I have this common denominator, and it's looking pretty good. It's y plus 3 times y plus 8, my common denominator. Now I have to take 7 times y plus 3, distributive property, and I have to add the 35. So as you can see, this gets a little bit large. I got 56 with this, with my common denominator. Now, how's it looking? You think I'm done? Well, I might be done, but I think I can factor the top because maybe I can reduce something. Oh, I can. Look at that. By making a distributive property in the numerator, I get multiplication by y plus 8 and multiplication by y plus 8. That's a direct reduce to 1. So my final answer is going to be 7 over y plus 3. Woo, woo. So what do you think? Is it looking pretty good? Are you catching on? Okay, I'm going to ask you to do number 12 by yourself here, because number 12 can be factored. That's m plus 2, m minus 2. So they're almost common. Find a common denominator, hit pause, find that common denominator, and then check back once you do. Was your common denominator m plus 2, m minus 2? Because the m minus 2 is already here, the m plus 2 is needed over here to make it a common denominator. So I have to take that 2 that was on top of that second fraction and also multiply it by an m plus 2. Okay? So here's the numerator on the first fraction. It doesn't change because I never changed the denominator. It is the common denominator to start with. It was the second fraction that I had to make and change to a common denominator with a little multiplication so that they would match. All right, so now let's keep it going. You can keep your common denominator, but now we can add the numerator. Let's see, this is going to be 2m plus 4, and we can add it to the other numerator. 7m and 2m. I'm sorry, 5m and 2m is 7m. 6 plus 4 is 10. Okay? Now, I think we're done. But no, maybe we can factor the top. Oh, it is. The top is factorable. And remember, it doesn't matter what order your denominator is in, because it's just multiplication. Look at this. So the final answer is simply m plus 5 over m minus 2. And no, we can't cross out the m's because they're addition and subtraction. They have to be multiplied to be able to do that one-to-one reducing. Okay, how are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? I think we're doing pretty well with this. Why don't we try and do one that some people might struggle with a little? Okay, number 14. I think some people might struggle with this because b doesn't go into b plus 3. When that happens, just multiply them together. Just multiply the two denominators together. That will automatically make a common denominator. We sometimes don't just multiply because maybe there's things in common and we can make a really simple denominator. But in this case, just multiply them together. Let's go ahead and do this problem with the video on pause, and then you can hit play again and see how you did. Okay, if you look at what I did, to make b plus 3 into the common denominator, I had to multiply it by b, because these are just multiplied together. So I have to take the top times b. That'll give me b squared. Over here, to convert b into the common denominator, I had to multiply it by b plus 3. So they're matching now. So I had to take this one times b plus 3. Okay? So to save a little room, I just wrote common denominator and wrote my new numerators, because first I have to subtract 4b plus 12. I got to take it away. If you want to, you can go plus -4 and add the like terms. But as I do this, let's see what I'm going to get. I'm going to get b squared minus 4b minus 12 all over that common denominator. We'll cross out number 16 and keep going with this. Unfortunately, it can be factored. So the top can be factored. Oh, we lucked out. We lucked out. There was nothing to cancel. So you can consider this the final answer, or you can consider this the final answer. Either one for number 14. Okay? All right, now I'm going to put you to the test. I want you to find the common denominator for 15 and then check back with the video. All right. Oh boy, oh boy. Let's see. I have a p minus 5. I need a 4 in this one, so I'm going to have to multiply this one by 4. But I also need a p minus 3 in common here. Holy cow. So I got to multiply this one by a p minus 3. So in order to get the common denominator, you have to have a 4, a p minus 3, and a p minus 5. Holy cow. So that's going to be 2p minus 6 all over. Now I can put this in any order because I'm just multiplying everything down here. Holy shnikes. This is a big denominator. All right, now I started with p minus 6 up here. And I put that in parentheses because if I don't, then I'm only multiplying by the 6 when I add things here. Let's see what I needed to do. To get the common denominator, all I had to do was multiply what I had by 4. Oh, that makes it easier. So I have to multiply the top by 4. Just like I had to add the p minus 3 into this multiplication, I had to put it up at the top as well to make it fair, keep them equal. So let's see. I have a 4 sitting here. So now I'm going to do a little multiplication and simplify this bubba. Hit pause and check back and see if we match. All right. How did you do? Did you notice that this was 4p minus 24 that you had to add with this? That gives you 6p minus 30. Factor it. Oh boy, we can pull a 6 out. So now the p minus 5s cancel, and the 6 and the 4 reduce to 3 over 2. So I have the 3 over 2, nothing else on top besides that 3, but I have a p minus 3 with my 2. And if you want to say 2p minus 6, you can do that, but we can't reduce this because 2 doesn't go into 3 evenly. All right, let's try some of the practice problems in Canvas. Good luck, and I'll see you very soon.